Now, will you text us in, please? What's your favourite bingo number? What number do you want to get drawn out? Is it legs 11? Is it? Give us a few of them, Kieran, there.
Or top of the house, 90.
Top of the house, yeah.
And I won't quite know.
Go on, give me a few of them, go on.
Well, on its own, Kelly's Eye, number 1, and top of the line, number 9, and as you said, the famous one of them all is legs 11, lucky for some, or some say unlucky for some, 13, so on. There's 90 numbers, they all have a name.
90 numbers. They all have a name. Does every one of them have a name?
Well, most do. We don't use names very rarely. No, we just call it. We're just hoping our number isn't up.
There we go. We're going to talk about bingo, folks, in a few minutes. There's a big bingo debacle going on at present. We want to know your thoughts. Please text us in 083 3333 975. How important is bingo to you? Also, if you want to call Audrey on 051 846 123. Kieran O'Neill is here from the Forum Bingo. He's also chairperson of the Bingo Association of Ireland on the campaign regarding gambling legislation. We're going to be talking to him about all matters concerning this because it is a big day for bingo players in Ireland. There's protests planned, there's street demonstrations. Janie, there could be throwing bingo balls and everything at the Dáil gates. You wouldn't know, Kieran. We'll talk about that in a second. Firstly, it comes to things that are coming up on the show. We're going to be talking in a few minutes to Richard Grogan about the cancellation of courts in Waterford and the South East. Court sittings because not enough judges. Again, if this has affected you, let us know how this may have affected you. Catherine Donnelly is going to be talking to us about feeder schools and about how many young children go to college and whether the school you go to allows and I suppose dictates how many people will go to college. We're going to be talking to William Smith from City Vets, so any veterinary questions, please text us in this morning. We're going to be focusing on, do animals have emotions? And we've a lots more. I've got a special report on hospital volunteers. I was over at UHW yesterday, and these special men and women who are volunteering to be in emergency department and also in the main area, and they help people that come into the hospital. And a special hello, before I forget it, to Anne-Marie. She works in reception there, and her mammy Betty Hutchinson up in Barrack Street. And also Caroline said to say a special hello to Bridie Walsh in Lisduggan. Now, Kieran O'Neill, tell us about bingo in the Forum first. How many people go to bingo? How often is it held on a weekly basis in your premises?
Good morning, Jamie. We've been doing bingo a long time. With the forums open since 1990, and I was doing it 8 years before that. So this now is my 38th year actually running bingo in Waterford.
38 years.
Yeah, I started when I was 10. So, so it was. It's been a long time, and I just sort of fell into it. I went in to take over the Savoy and wanted to go in and put a nightclub there, but as it happened to get planning and all that took time, and bingo it had been closed, and bingo just happened to be there, and someone said, why don't you do it? I'd never been in bingo in my life, and so I tried it, and I think it was just the right time of year because this was September 1982, and it was busy. And then I saw I had a person at the time who was really good, who knew all about it and taught me everything. So I've been doing it ever since. And when we moved from the Savoy up to what was the Regal and made it into the Forum and opened it in 1990, my main thing then was to do shows and do gigs and all this. And actually, one of the reasons that we stopped doing it is because in 2013, the government brought out this new gaming bill. And what it was is that we're operating at the moment under an act that is, believe it or not, from 1956. It's so antiquated, it's unbelievable. And governments have always said, oh, we must change that, but they've never got around to it. But in 2013, eventually they brought out this bill called the Game and Control Bill 2013. And what it did is it consolidated all the old legislation and put it in one bill. And for the first time ever, it actually mentioned bingo in its own right, because it's not mentioned in the 1956 Act.
We'll talk about that legislation in a minute, because there are obviously serious matters concerning gambling that haven't been addressed by successive governments, and that's what they're trying to do. But obviously there's a lot of problems in terms of how bingo is being lumped in with other things. We'll talk about that in a second. Firstly, a text in from somebody. My mother-in-law is a dedicated bingo goer. She goes 2 to 3 nights a week. I can think of nobody more impacted on this than my father-in-law. So the mammy gets out to go to the bingo and allows the daddy a bit of me time and can save marriages.
Well, I tell you, it's predominantly a social outlet, and it's an entertainment. And I would say the vast majority of people who go to bingo, that is their main form of getting out and socialising. It is really, really important. And like, I'm not being sort of facetious here, but it is a service to these people, you know, and they come in and the interaction with the staff and everything, they're not in to gamble, they're not in they are there to meet other people, to have a good night out and in a safe environment. They want it safe, they want it warm, and they want somewhere they can have a bit of crack, and that is the most important thing.
Like, you have the forum, obviously, in the city. You've got bingo in Dungarvan, in different villages as well. I know, for example, in the community centre in Passage, they have it every Tuesday night. And you'll have a dozen, maybe 14, 16 women going, a few men. And they just love it. And it's just, as you say, a social outlet. And it's no matter rail, hail or shine. I remember covering the big storms there a few weeks ago, and one of the things I said on Morning Ireland was bingo in Kilmacow has been cancelled. This was the biggest thing, you know, bingo cancelled.
It's the only time we cancel is when there's snow.
When there's snow, yeah.
And it doesn't happen that often.
A texter has texted in, my favourite bingo number is the Two Little Ducks, 22. So the importance of bingo from a social perspective, from an individual perspective, and in terms of the money that people bring, how much does it cost, for example, to go? What's the
books are €8 each.
€8
and
each.
There's 4 games then that are €3 each, which are separate. That so if you played every game, it's €20.
So the maximum you can spend on the forum is €20.
Well, no, you could buy some more than one if you want, but that's what you would need to play every in-house game in the night is €20. You know, but Damon, just to get back,
and do you find some people buy more? Do you find are there addiction's the wrong word, because people go to gambling from a social, so, but do you find, are there some people that might spend what you might consider an inordinate amount on any night?
No, not in bingo. I don't think so. I've never come across it. What I would say to you is this, is that we decided because we used to play bingo, people who would go to bingo now would be very surprised at how modern it is compared, because they have this image, and even they did a programme on us a few years ago on TV3 called Bingo Nights. That's right. And it shows the old setup, and that was done prior to 2014. And the reason I say this, Damien, is that in 2013, when they brought in this act I was saying about earlier, this bill that never was enacted, what happened is I saw that and I said at the time, right, we have to, there are now going to be, bingo is going to be out there as a business that is in a sound footing, that it's something that you could have, let's say, other people coming in and saying they'll set up now or whatever on the thing, because it's a clear-cut situation in this new bill. And I said, well, I have to decide now for us where we go into the future, because up to then what we did is we used to have shows and concerts and nightclubs and all that, and we just had normal chairs and people just played their book on it. But meanwhile, in all other clubs, they had electronic tablets, the tables you sit down in, like this table here, let's say, and 4 would sit around it, and was all done up lovely, all the other clubs. So we were a bit behind the curve. So it was time to put up or shut up sort of thing in it. And we were saying, right, this is the thing we've been waiting for, that they're going to change the law, the bingo will be there. So we made the decision in 2013 that what we would do is, at that stage, people weren't going out to clubs the way they used to. So it actually was an easy decision, because we were depending on people on Friday and Saturday nights in coming in. So they weren't coming in, those who were coming in weren't drinking as much as before. It just wasn't viable sort of thing. And at the same time, if we were to go and sort of remain in bingo, we'd have to take it to the next level. So instead of having it just like a hall where people sit in, we wanted to do it. So we made the decision to invest quite a bit of money, and what we did is we fitted out the whole place. Right. Now, as I say, if people...
It's lovely, it's great. It was up there.
Well, thank you, David. Really, but people would be very surprised at how bright it is, how warm it is, how modern it is, let's say, and all that.
How many people would you have there now on a normal night?
An average crowd would be something like maybe 200 people. 200
people?
Yeah. And
some of them get buses in from different villages and towns around.
There is one bus that runs, and it does Passage, it does Dunmore, and it does Tramore, but it's the only bus. When I started first, we were running around 8 buses every night, and they were coming from everywhere. But people all have their own transport now. That's one of the big changes. Also, Damien, you'd be surprised, while it is predominantly female and while it is predominantly older, you'd be surprised how many younger people play, and everyone's surprised at seeing males there as well. You know, it's a good mixture.
Okay, What is the problem?
Okay.
Is it, talk to me about specifics.
Well, specifically what happened in 2013, they were going to bring this bill in, right? We strongly agreed with this and strongly welcomed it, right? We said about time they're doing something and this is good for us and everyone else. But there was one problem with it. They decided that if they were to bring this in, they were going to have to appoint, let's say, an ombudsman or gaming controller or whatever you want to call him or her. And they decided that to enforce it, they need somewhere around 200 staffs. And they were very afraid of, there's going to be another Quango or whatever sort of thing. So they kicked to touch on it. Then the present junior minister in the Department of Justice, David Staunton, he decided in 2017, because now it was just gathering dust, as a lot of other things sometimes do, he decided when now there is serious problems, which there is, because, Damien, just tell you just something that has nothing to do with us, but the machines, like the slot machines. 1956, the Act says that the most you can bet on a machine is 6 old P, right, and win 10 shillings. Now, for those that might remember that, that's 3 cents and 50p. That is still the law today.
I know.
Right? That's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
So he decided he would change that, for instance, to €750 with the most you could win and £10. Now, when he did this, he said, right, in 2017, he sort of put it out there and said, I'm going to make an amendment to the 1956 Act, right, temporarily. So let's say it's a 20-page act, right? And it was called the 2017, it's now called the 2019 Amendment Act, right? Or Bill or whatever. So he's doing this. So
it's going to the Dáil tomorrow.
Yes. So what happened is he made some minor changes this week. So one of the changes, because there was a lot of giving out about the going from 3 cents to €10 and going from 50p to 750, he decided to bring that down to £505 is the bet, let's say. So he did that. That's just one thing. So he made a few changes. So in that, they're going to vote on that tomorrow. But inadvertently, I believe, it kills bingo. The reason it kills bingo is bingo comes under the Lottery Act, right? The lottery thing. So what it is in a lottery, it's saying in this short little temporary bill till the big one comes again, which could be next year, could be 5 years, could be 10 years' time, you just don't know. But in the meantime, it says that the maximum prize money that you are allowed to pay out when this bill comes into action is 50% of what you take, right? Now, Damien, we pay out, and this is the maximum now, we're in the situation that we actually pay out 75, 85, 90, sometimes 100%, sometimes if we have a small crowd. So we give away, let's say, on our average night, we give away €3,500. That's our in-house prize money. That's our average prize money, right? So we have to, sometimes if you had a night where the weather was really bad and you maybe got 150 people or something like that, right? You wouldn't take that. So by law, we wouldn't be allowed to give that. So let's say we took in €3,000, we'd only allowed to give out 1,500. So we'd have to keep the price of the books and everything the same, but you'd only be able to give out. Also, you'd have to adjust it every night. It's just not practical.
So you're effectively saying that if this bill, with the amendments, go in and becomes law, this is going to kill bingo.
Throughout the country. It's absolutely going to kill all bingos and a lot of other things. You'll find that there's other lotteries and stuff that it will kill as well. It's encompassing a whole thing. His intentions are honourable. I think what he's trying to do is...
He's been lobbying him, and there's other groups set up, like there's
Bingo Players Association.
Bingo Players. There's loads of bingo groups set up now. So there's a campaign, there's a protest on today. There's a lot of...
It's on now, actually.
On now at 10:30, starting now at 10:30 in the Dáil.
In the
Dáil. You've been campaigning. You've told him about this. So why has him and his advisors and those that make the legislation, why haven't they taken these on board?
Well, I can't tell why he won't do it, but I can speculate that the reason is that he's been lobbied from all parties, like the people involved in the game machines, because this involves gaming, it involves bookies, it involves betting of any kind. It involves these private clubs, the ones in Dublin that do the casinos and all that. So it's a huge...
But that only takes a relatively small percentage of people compared to bingo.
Yes.
Like bingo is a mass organisation.
Yeah, well, what it does is it's run individually around the country by there's no real group except for one group in Dublin that run 4 places, but everyone else is individually. So we've only got together in the last few years, let's say, and I think he's lumping us in all right with the others in the sense, I don't think he intends to close down bingo halls. I think this is an unintended consequences of what he's doing, and we're hoping he'll see the light in the last minute and change it. All we want is either to be left alone or meet with us. Let us pay out more. I mean, it's an unusual situation, Damien. We're actually asking to pay out more money than he's letting. That's our issue. It's the percentages is the issue. Nothing else.
Is he concerned that some people are addicted to bingo?
No, it's nothing to do with bingo at all.
It's not addiction. It's not a gambling addiction.
No, I think everyone accepts. I think he accepts, and so what we've done is he's agreed to meet us, but only after the bill is voted through. We've been trying to meet
only
him
after the bill.
I don't know. I don't understand that. But we've been asking for a meeting
again. I've been observing politics for a long time. This is stupid. This is ridiculous. Yeah. I'm not taking sides on this, but this is stupid.
I think so.
It's the type of thing that will bring down the government now because well, I'll tell you, this is the type of thing that they sort of don't expect people to get angry about. But we're getting texts in already. Damien, I'm heartbroken listening to this. My mum went for years and years. Sadly, she died back in April. She loved bingo so much. Another person, bingo's a fantastic hobby. We go to the forum 2 nights a week. 12 is John Joe's boots, LOL. I live near the bingo and I tend to go, but with all the trouble with greyhound racing, he gives it an alternative. But he loves, this other person says, he loves bingo. My favourite number is all the 8s, Mary and Kate. There's loads of, this is really ridiculous.
Damien, he doesn't mean to do, but what it does is he's lumping us in, and what he's doing, I'd say, he's been lobbied by everyone, and he says, you're only lobbying, this isn't really an issue, you'll be grand, give out half the money. He doesn't understand it, and we just want him. We've talked to opposition. We're hoping even tomorrow, our hopes are, we're talking to lots of politicians, and we're hoping that tomorrow the opposition, if he doesn't do it himself, will stand up for us tomorrow.
What do you want people to do today? Do you want people to contact their local TDs?
Absolutely. That would be the greatest thing ever, because they have to realise that it's something that if it is gone, it would be greatly missed. And then they'd realise that, there's nothing to replace it. The majority of people who go to bingo aren't going to go to the pub, they aren't going to go clubbing.
Because they don't go for the drink, they don't go, exactly. They go for the social event, a bit of crack, a bit of fun, get their mind active and win a few bob maybe if needs be, but that's if they can, but that's it.
And it's the unusual situation where the vast majority of money that is taken in, and I mean this, the vast majority is given back out on the night. So that people, and this is why it's not an addiction thing, because the more you play, the more actually percentage wise you'll win, sort of thing. So it's not there, it's about having a good night out more than anything else, in a very safe environment where people get to meet other people and their friends, and they have a bit of crack, and like the slagging, you can imagine, especially with the women, their slagging is unbelievable, and so it's great fun.
You heard it here on the show this morning on Deise today. Contact your local TDs, Mary Butler, Fianna Fáil, David Cullinan, Sinn Féin. We have John Halligan, Minister, and John Deise, still a TD. Paddy Coffey, not a TD yet, Senator, but John Deise is a TD. So if people want to contact them and get in touch and text us in your views here as well. Kieran O'Neill, thank you very much.
Thank you, Damien, and thanks for giving us the time to put this out.
No, it's a pleasure, because I just think it's madness. I think it's really, really silly.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Best of luck with the campaign.
Thank you very much.
Now, keep your texts and comments coming in. We're going to be coming back to the bingo issue in a minute. I'm just going to go to Richard Grogan first. Good morning, Richard.
Good morning.
Richard, bingo. Did you ever play the old bingo? No?
I think it's a long time ago that I went and played bingo. It was far too complicated for a solicitor to work out all those numbers.
Big protests in Dublin today about bingo. It could be the thing that'll bring the government down. Richard, you're with Dublin solicitors Grogan and Associates. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. This is about the cancellation of court sittings in the South East, Waterford, Cork, Kilkenny, Dundalk, different places as well, due to a shortage of judges. Can you explain the situation to us, please?
Yeah, the situation is quite simple. The reality of matters is that we have been struggling in the court system to have judges appointed over the last number of years. We have a piece of legislation stuck in the Shannon at the moment, which is difficult to fathom why it's been brought in. We have a very good system on the appointment of judges since the foundation of the state, and there's never been any difficulty with it. And what we have at the present time is we have approximately 8 judges short in the High Court as an absolute minimum.
Okay.
And you have a situation in Waterford, for example. We have a fantastic courthouse in Waterford. It's state-of-the-art. And the problem on it is we've no judges. And this is impacting very badly on people having their rights to a fair and quick hearing dealt with.
I have spoken to people that are affected presently. They were due to have cases heard in the last 2 months and have been put back to the new year and possibly longer. So it does have a detrimental effect because the pursuit of justice and time can be of the essence in certain cases. Now, I know judges and courts will make allowances for particular cases if there's emphasis made on time-related matters, but just the fact of waiting can be so dispiriting for people, can't it?
Well, look, the people think that the cases that are going to be listed there are always, say, personal injury cases. A number of them will be. But there will be an awful lot of cases down there that deal with property disputes. There will be cases dealing with challenges to wills. And these are all very stressful cases for people to be involved in. So people were expecting their case to be listed in Waterford in early December. They had geared up for that. They had their meetings with their solicitors and their barristers. And now they find suddenly everything has gone back. And that's going to put additional cost on people because now they're going to have to go through that whole pre-trial preparation all over again. And the problem that we have is that we just have too few judges, and it is a national disgrace, and it needs to be dealt with, and it needs to be dealt with immediately by the government. I mean, and this is not only in the High Court, the same affects the Circuit Court and the District Court. There are many, many fine solicitors down in Waterford who could fill any of those roles, District Court, Circuit Court or High Court, and they could be appointed very quickly. And we really need these numbers because it's not only affecting it affects the future is that Ireland could become the centre for common law post-Brexit. And that means there will be huge opportunities for jobs, not just for lawyers, but for other people involved in that whole process. And all of this is being stymied because of the fact that we don't have judges. And particularly, I feel very hard done. People feel very hard done by, and I think it's an appalling situation that you have people down in Waterford whose cases should have been on and haven't been on, and they're not. This is not to blame the court service. This is squarely at the door of the Oireachtas and the minister for not having appointed sufficient judges. To a certain extent, by the way, the minister's hands are tied, but that's where it sits at the moment.
That's what I was going to ask you. What is the situation that let this develop? For example, it's obvious that certain judges are going to retire at certain ages and that there will be a natural fall-off, and there has to be a relative conveyor belt of judges coming on board. Why have we got to this situation, Richard?
We got into this situation because an issue arose as regards how judges were going to be appointed. And one particular TD and minister now was very strong on the argument that you had to have this lay group of people appointed judges rather than the system that we had. And the system we had was people were appointed by the minister, but really on the recommendation of the judges themselves in the High Court and the Supreme Court. So we had a very good system. There's never been any problem with the independence of judges. There's never been any problem with the quality that has been appointed to the bench. And what has happened now is we've had this logjam where we're only really have a situation where the most egregious situations where we're that for short that people get appointed. But at the moment, we're 8 short minimum. You're describing it, as you say, as a scandal, as a disgrace. What is happening behind the scenes to remedy this situation, Richard? Is there anything happening? Well, this is an area where I believe that the legal profession has to be very strong in speaking out and saying we need the judges appointed now, and we need to have a situation where this situation is rectified. There are well-qualified people, both solicitors and barristers, who could be appointed to free up this logjam that is there. And it is we've got over the problem in the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeal. They're properly resourced, but the High Court, the Circuit Court and the District Court really are short judges. And this has to be addressed urgently. If not, you're going to see more and more cases being adjourned and adjourned and adjourned, and people's right to a fair hearing and a quick hearing are going to be affected by that. I mean, I feel very sorry, particularly if you have a situation where you have a probate dispute going on that goes over about a will and could affect a farm. That could have been dealt with by Christmas. If this doesn't get dealt with until the new year, you're going to have a situation where that land may not be actually productive for next year. That's the effect of these kind of adjournments.
Yeah, it has direct effects. You're 100% right. Richard Grogan, thanks for joining us this morning. We'll watch this with interest.
Thank you very much for having me on.
Thank you, Richard Grogan there, Dublin solicitor with Grogan and Associates on the cancellation of court sittings. As you heard, a stressful situation for people all set to go to court, including witnesses, professionals, people that have taken time off and plan to have their day on that day, and further delays, increased costs. Richard says the situation is scandalous. Let us know what you think. 083 33 975. Or you can call Audrey on 051 846 123. A texter on the bingo: don't bother contacting the TDs. Get the pensioners of the country onto it, and this will die a quick death. It's their night out that's at stake here. Damien, what a joke. We have a state-of-the-art hospital and the same with the courthouse. Not enough nurses, not enough judges. What a country. What a county, says this person. As this texter said, though, as Richard said, it's not just Waterford. This is a national situation and it affects Waterford as well. So it's a national situation there regarding that. Now, we've got a nice €50 voucher to give away, courtesy of Waterford Chamber. This Christmas, Waterford gift voucher is accepted in 150 participating businesses and shops. Business owners, you can reward your staff with a Waterford gift voucher up to the value of €500 completely tax-free. Up to the value of €500 completely tax-free. So it's a very, very good alternative to a Christmas bonus. And our question is, please, this morning, you're entitled to a tax exemption if you gift your staff how much to your staff. So you're entitled to a tax exemption if you gift up to how much to your staff. The figure of how many euros are you allowed to give your staff, and it is tax-free. Text us in 083 3333 975 and we'll give you a €50 Waterford gift voucher courtesy of Waterford Chamber if you are pulled out of the hat. Keep your texts and comments coming in. Next, we are going to be looking at schools, and does going to college depend on what secondary school you go to? Now I'm going to be joined by Catherine Donnelly in a second, the independent education correspondent on the feeder schools data. Keep your texts and comments coming in about feeder schools and whether you think it's important what school that your child goes to. Or should it be important, or is it wrong? Let us know what you text, please. 083 3333 975. One more shout out to our competition. Up to how much money can a business give a staff member? That's going to have a tax-free exemption on that. Up to how much money? Text us in that figure to 083 3333 975. You can win a voucher from Waterford Chamber. Catherine Donnelly, good morning.
Good morning, Damien.
Thank you for joining us again, Catherine.
Thank you.
Catherine, tell us, the figures come out and you've got a full supplement in the Irish Independent today. 700 schools listed, a 16-page supplement. Firstly, just to deal with the morality, if you want to call it, of this. Some people say that shouldn't be published. We shouldn't be publishing these league tables. What do you have to say when people say that to you, or do people have they stopped saying that now?
Well, no, I suppose people may say that, but I think these tables started almost 20 years ago because parents were getting no information from schools as to, what the outcomes were. So parents were trying to decide on schools for their children. They had no idea really, or very little idea in terms of published information about what to expect. We've come a long way since then, and there are now school inspection reports and other data about schools published. But you will find, though, you might find schools complaining about these tables being published, but then if they do well in these tables, they're the very schools who will put it up on their website to show that they are top of the local league.
Yeah.
So and we don't do them to. It's not about one school is better than the other. What it does do is it provides a good national picture overall about, and within a county, about how schools generally are performing on this one measure in terms of sending children to higher education. And by the way, that is an important measure. It's not the only measure, and it's not how schools should be judged, but it is an important measure. We're a country where we have high ambitions for our children, and it would be a terrible situation if we found that children weren't, pupils weren't being pushed.
I know, but it does reinforce, though, some schools that don't get high up on the and consistently don't get high up, and they're from more deprived areas. You could call it Deise schools. That it may be a class thing that a lot of these children don't go to college, and maybe is that just a fact of life? It's the way things are, or is it the way the education system is structured?
It shouldn't be a fact of life. To a large extent, it's the education system. The policymakers have a lot to answer for here. We have a scheme in the system called Deise, which provides extra support for communities suffering severe socioeconomic disadvantage. And generally speaking, not in all cases, but generally speaking, you will find that it's those schools serving disadvantaged communities that will lag well behind in these lists. And that, I mean, by publishing those figures, they might be down at 20% versus 100% for a fee-paying school in the county next door or in the road next, the next street. But I think it's no harm actually publishing those figures, and it serves as another wake-up call to the policymakers to say, well, what more can we do to ensure not necessarily that children in those Deise schools go to higher education, but to ensure that they have the same choice as everybody else, because it's about choice. Because higher education is not for everybody. And we now there are more apprenticeships out there now that weren't there maybe 6 or 7 years ago, and that's the appropriate post-school route for a lot of students. So I think the figure should, in a way, as I say, serve as a wake-up call to the policymakers and say, well, what more can we do? We have seen that Deise scheme does work. We have seen good examples of how it works, but clearly the system, and particularly those schools, needs more support from the government.
Yeah, like we did a piece, a special outside broadcast down in Dungarvan College last week, and I'm looking at the figures here. Percentage of those that attend third level, it's 27%, but that may not take into account PLC courses, does it?
It doesn't. It doesn't take into account the students who went on to PLC courses, and that's another excellent route.
Yes.
What does happen is some students go to PLC courses for a year, and then they go to higher education.
Exactly.
And those students, if they have used their school roll number, which invariably they do when they enter college a year on, they are factored into these figures. So in a sort of a way, while the students from any college who have gone to a PLC this year mightn't be in the figures, the students from the same school last year who went to PLC perhaps are here, because if they're in higher education this year. But as I say, it's all about, PLCs are a fantastic route, as are apprenticeships, but it's really, what it's about is that every student should have the same choice, and to decide if they want to be a doctor, well, that's available to them, and that, that they will have the support through the education system to ensure that they achieve at a level that will allow them to be a doctor, if that's what they want.
They should, but as well as I do, Catherine, that if you're born on a halting site, you probably have a lot less chance and a lot less choice of getting to third level college than if you're born on the Dunmore Road, for example, here in Waterford. Our Lady of Mercy Secondary School in Waterford, 88 students last year did their Leaving Cert this year, 100% went to college. The same with the Ursuline, the same with Gael Colossus Port Lorriga, 95%, St Augustine's College, De La Salle College, 95%, Arts School na Deise, 89%, Water Park, 88%, St Declan's in Kilmac, 81%, Arts School na Mara Tremor, 88%, Manskull St Nicholas and Blackwater School, 80%, Abbey, 77%, Presentation, 74%, Newtown, 74%. Now, Newtown, I'm surprised with that, actually, slightly. Newtown School, Dungarvan CBS 71, Mount Sion 68, St Paul's 53, Dungarvan 27, Dungarvan College. Again, that's specific third level, I suppose. Third level college not defined as PLC courses, so you have to read. You have to be careful how you read these figures as well. But they do show some schools have 100% attendance for third level college. That's phenomenal in some respects, isn't it?
It is phenomenal. But to be honest, Jimmy, in many ways, there's very little difference between 100%, 80, 90, 70% even.
It might only be a few people. Yeah,
a few people, and then if you look at and you'd hope then that those people, they're either doing their PLC in art or whatever, or animal care, or they are doing an apprenticeship. They've decided to go off and work in the building industry and do a carpentry apprenticeship or whatever, which is what they've always wanted to do. So I think really, go back to your own school days and my school days. probably not everybody in the class wanted to go to higher education. You know, it wasn't necessarily the most appropriate route for everybody. You know, there are so many other routes, and you might have pupils from some schools where these 100% progression rates, and particularly, say, the fee-paying schools where higher education is sort of, you know, and some of the elite professions like medicine or veterinary are built into their DNA. And maybe some of those school leavers would prefer to be off doing an apprenticeship in Cork.
Or something else, I met a young chap down in Dungarvan last week, and he's gone into the army, and he's now going into third level college and doing third level subjects through the army, which is another way of doing it.
Well, exactly, yeah.
So there are different routes. Can I just say,
there are others got into maybe going into the Gardaí.
Yeah,
they're not in these tables, you know. So
some other points, Julie, our producer, points out when it comes to the highest points courses, the report finds that private schools make up 18 of the top 25 schools to send the highest proportion of students to higher education. Now, you did say that nearly all pupils in fee-paying schools progress to higher education. As little as 15% of pupils from some of the poorest schools progress to college. Now, the gap between the fee-paying schools and non-fee-paying schools is closing, but it's still very, very high, isn't it?
Well, it's closing. I mean, the middle has moved up. I mean, go back 10 years and you would have found a lot of schools, a lot of what we might call, you know, just the ordinary local school might have been in the late 50s, you know, 63% or 65% or whatever. Now, like overwhelmingly, they're up there 70, 80, 90%. You know, so that middle has moved up. But unfortunately, and as I say, I wouldn't see any difference really between 70 and 80% and 100%, you know.
Yeah.
But it's unfortunate. It's a cohort of schools that are back at the 20% or 25% or below 20%, so the one or two below 20%, and then you have to look at, well, why is that? And then you see that they are not the fee-paying schools. They are not the schools in good sort of middle-income areas. They are the schools serving the most disadvantaged communities with the most challenges. I mean, there was the JMB. That's the group that represents the secondary schools. They're the schools that traditionally were run by the religious. It's over half the schools in the country. They did a report about a year ago, and they found that about 30% of the school the funding they needed to cover all the costs of the schools came from voluntary fundraising, which meant that there was that gap between what they were getting from the state and what they needed.
Yes.
So if you're looking at voluntary fundraising, then you're looking at where is that coming from? It's coming from parents. And if you're in a good middle-income area, well, that may be, parents may be able to step up to the plate and support various initiatives to bring the funding up. But if you're in an area of severe socioeconomic disadvantage, the parents just don't have that money to provide the extras. And the extras might be, it might be sports outings, it might be extra tuition and something,
tutorial, extra, absolutely. That makes a big difference.
Or after school study or whatever. So if they just don't have those resources, so of course they're going to be left behind. Yeah, there was a report done by the Higher Education Authority, published earlier, about a month or two ago, and it sort of drove home the same message that the pupils in the most it looked at pupils. It looked at Leaving Cert results and entry to college based on geographical location, where the pupil lived. It wasn't even necessarily the school they went to, it was where the pupil lived. And it said the same thing. And it showed, for instance, that 36%, I think, of first year entrance to medicine, which is one of the most hotly contested third level degree courses, came from the most affluent families, compared with 3.5% from the most disadvantaged families. And that also the most affluent families were most likely to have children who got the highest points. So there was a big points gap between the most affluent and the least well off. So,
Catherine,
it's not rocket science.
It's not rocket science. I'm going to have to leave it there. Catherine Donnelly, thanks very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Catherine Donnelly, their education editor with the Irish Independent. Let us know what you think. It also finds that third level students are more likely to go to a college local to their school. I think the figures point out that around half in the Waterford area go to WIT, another half go down to Cork. So obviously if we had a university in the southeast, there would be a lot more staying in Waterford and spending their money and learning their education in Waterford. Let us know what you think. Next, we are dealing with parking charges in Dungarvan. Now, welcome back to the programme. A lot of people texting in for our competition. Last few minutes before it closes. How much money can you give to a staff member if you're a business that allows them tax-free exemption? How much money can a business give? Text us in that figure to 083 33 975. We're trying to get Jerry O'Connor on the line. He's manager of Dungarvan Shopping Centre on parking. If anybody's down there beside Jerry, will you tell him to get off his phone, please? Jerry, we're trying to contact you. Maybe you're on voicemail. And John Pratt will be coming on to talk also about what happens with the next budget. There's full reports in the Waterford News and Star and the Munster Express about the meetings that took place last week. Very interesting debacle that's going on and how it is going to develop, because what we're looking at potentially is that you're going to have the potential disbandment of the council from the councillors' perspective. It's going to happen next Thursday. There will be a meeting on the budget and there'll be a following up meeting potentially on the Friday. Now we understand that the Pact and members of the Pact have looked for a meeting with Minister Owen Murphy to talk about this. Whether that's been acceded to or not, we will find out later on in the programme. And also they are looking then at alternative budgets. So there may well be a budget to go before the council. And if there is some sort of a budget to find that hole in the gap, that 1.3 million, they may well then obviously pass a budget and then things will be all hunky-dory from that perspective. So we'll come with more of that back in a few seconds.
The WLR Christmas Appeal, Be a Little Star, is back for the 4th year, and the success is dependent on the support of the community in Waterford City and County.
Well done to Gary and all at Waterford Warriors. €27,000 raised here today.
Since 2016, the appeal has raised €216,000 for the St Vincent de Paul across Waterford City and County.
We're here at the Dungarvan Community Concert where we've just raised over €1,500 for the WLR Christmas Appeal.
It is only with the assistance of you, our listeners, and businesses that we can ensure enough funds are raised to support the essential work of the St Vincent de Paul in our hometowns.
And thank you to Nevin Construction, who today raised over €2,300 for the Christmas Appeal.
If you or your company are interested in hosting an event or a fundraiser in support of the WLR Christmas Appeal, please get in touch with us through the WLR office in Waterford or Dungarvan. Click wlrfm.com/appeal. Be a little star and support the Christmas Appeal on WLR, Ireland's local station of the year.
Those Christmas lights keep shining on.
In this week's Waterford News and Star, City and County councillors are playing the long game when it comes to its 2020 budget. Darren Skelton reports on events from City Hall. Claire Quinn reports on a busy week for Waterford Gardaí. We report on Board Planola's planning refusal for the Apple Market car park. And we've also got the latest on the North Quays project. And in Waterford Sport, a fantasy golf winner is revealed. St Mary seek Munster hurling glory. And we've all the weekend schoolboys, schoolgirls and junior soccer action. The Waterford News and Star, one of its biggest selling local newspaper, in shops now.
Everything you want for Christmas is at the Waterford Shopping Centre Lisduggan.
I love deals. It's great for good value stocking fillers.
Asher, a fragrance from Mulligan's makes the perfect Christmas present.
Lifestyle and Heaton's, brilliant for sports brands.
For the big Christmas shop, every little helps with Tesco.
And free parking outside the door. Where would you be going?
At the Waterford Shopping Centre Lisduggan, all we want for Christmas is you.
A mother's fear runs deep. The fear of violence, the fear of starvation. But a mother's love runs deeper. Mothers like Nazra. Nazra crossed a war-torn, barren country to save her children's lives. This Christmas, families fleeing conflict urgently need help. Your donations provide desperately needed food, shelter and healthcare. So please give whatever you can. Call 1850 408 408 or visit trocra.org. Trocra, until love conquers fear.
As leaders in modular construction solutions, Modubuild appreciate when things slot into place. So when they looked to move further into European markets, Enterprise Ireland was there to help. Our 5-step plan and grant support enabled Modubuild hire vital staff to service a major new contract in the Netherlands, kickstarting further growth for the company. As Brexit approaches, take the step into new markets with Enterprise Ireland. If you have the ambition, we'll help you take it global. Visit globalambition.ie/steps, an initiative of the Government of Ireland.
Deise Today with Damien Tiernan on WLR.
With thanks to Mulligan's Pharmacy. Over 60 years together, thanks to you.
Now, I think we've got Jerry O'Connor on the line. Jerry, good morning.
Good morning, Damien.
Thanks for talking to us. You're manager of Dungarvan Shopping Centre. We were discussing parking yesterday and a caller rang in to say, Rose, she said she paid €9 in a car park. You were saying, though, that isn't possible. Is that the situation?
That's correct, yeah. And my phone lit up then after the interview.
We tried to ring her back, Jerry. Sorry, we tried to ring her back to find out where she might have paid it. So obviously it wasn't in Dungarvan Shopping Centre. She may have been had the misconception that it was a shopping centre. But you've got a maximum fee of €4 per day. Is that it?
That's correct. It's a daily fee, and then that's discounted. If you're shopping done, it's discounted by €2. So your fee is €2. In practical terms,
which is very, very. It's so little. It's a really, really good deal that you have.
It is. It's excellent, and I suppose for our longer term, which we have a lot of long-term parkers, we do a €12 per week parking ticket, and that allows you park 7 days a week for €12, which is basically equivalent of $150 a day.
That's excellent.
So, and
that's
we work
excellent.
hard at that.
Yeah, no, that's really, really good. So, no, I'm glad you've clarified that. So, like I said, we tried to contact this lady back to see exactly where she had parked. So, there's no way she could have done it or parked in your particular shopping centre. Tell us, what's your view about how Dungarvan is going at present? Obviously, there's a lot of things happening, Jerry, at the minute. There's the 12 days of Christmas. Dungarvan Aglow is on. 15 years in business this year as well, is it? Yourselves?
Yeah, we're 15 years here in the shopping centre here in Dungarvan now this year, which is it's amazing to think the time has gone so fast. But yeah, we've had a great year. There's a lot going on in Dungarvan with the Greenway, the product from Dungarvan Shopping Centre. We have a lot of local and national brands. And obviously Dungarvan Aglow then is another big added attraction to the area. So it's been a great start to the Christmas season for us on the back of a very strong year.
That's excellent.
So
that's excellent. And
good news all round.
Yeah, the anecdotal evidence is exactly what you're saying, and businesses are saying that as well. And the 12 Days of Christmas event, what is that?
That's it, yeah. We launched that on WR last week. What we're doing is we looked at a way to celebrate our 15 years. We wanted to thank customers and give them something back, something tangible. So every day now we're going to pick out a customer on our Facebook, and we're going to send them away to a 5-star trip to the Cliff House Hotel or a limited edition Ted Baker watch. So every single day we're picking out some spectacular prizes, and we're going to have winners every day until the 12th of December.
Excellent. That sounds very good. I know there's been a few people commenting on the Christmas lights and things like that. What's your view about how things are at the minute? Dungarvan is looking good for Christmas?
It is. It's excellent now. In fairness, the whole town is lit up, and Dungarvan Aglow, which the centre is a part of, it's a great addition. There was a couple of hitches at the start this year, first time ever. But that's not the fault of the committee of Dungarvan Aglow. It was the change of contractor. And I suppose for us, our lights weren't affected because we've had a local contractor working with us for the last 12 years. And we stay local whenever possible. But there's been a few little glitches. But as I said, the change of contractor, and that wasn't Dungarvan Aglow's choosing. That was a council decision.
That's right. And there has been reports on that, and we've reported on it here as well. Jerry, I'm glad you've come on to clarify that. I'm glad to be able to help you clarify that. And continued success to you and everybody that works in the shopping centre over the Christmas and into the new year.
That's great, Damien. And if you could just pass on my details to that lady, because if she's in any way confused, I'd love to meet her. We'll look after her. We'll chat her through. If it did happen here, which it didn't, but also we look after anyway as a little token from Dungarvan Shopping Centre.
Very thoughtful.
Anyway.
Jerry O'Connor, manager, Dungarvan Shopping Centre, thanks very much.
No problem, Jim. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jerry O'Connor there. Now we're going to go to Liz with the news at 11.